welcome to Unprofessional Engineering. My name is James.
You got Luke.
Luke, we're continuing our Companies That Built the World series. And this week, we're looking at BMW.
Should have called this one Companies That Built the Cars.
I was thinking it was like companies that blew up the world, because they participated in some things that
They did a lot of stuff in the war.
In the war. You do know I love my war connections.
You do
so
love
this
your
is a
war
good
connections. One. Anything revolves around death is kind of like
my thing, my
your
jams.
thing.
Yeah. If you hate our voices, or at least mine, I know you couldn't hate Luke's, feel free to quit listening and head over to bmwgroup.com for a less amazing history of BMW.
You may get the exact same information.
That sounds unlikely.
There's a chance I may have done a lot of research at that page.
Yeah. So one thing that I have to warn is that my pronunciation is going to be very suspect
Oh my goodness.
throughout all of
We're
this.
apologizing to our German fan base.
Oh my goodness.
Because
right?
your language, when it's translated into English characters and I have no clue how to say some of these words.
I'm just looking at the next thing I'm going to say, and it's just so bad. Okay, BMW officially started on March 7th, 1916, or at least that's the kind of made-up date that they decided that it started
When an
with.
aircraft engine manufacturer called
Bayerisch Flugzeugwerk AG.
That's terrible.
The letters don't even go together.
They don't.
Oh my gosh.
FLUG should never start a word.
Z.
With a Z. Yeah.
With a Z in there.
FLUGZ is never in the English vernacular put together. Just so, there's going to be a lot of that this episode.
Yeah. So there were a bunch of companies, like three-ish, that kind of got smashed together. That ended up making BMW as we know it.
And actually, only two of them. So the first two came together, and they were involved with airplane, I believe, aircraft engine manufacturers. And the third company that they bought was actually the company that actually made motor vehicles.
Okay. So one of them, Rap Motorenwerk, because, work is W-E-R-K-E, manufactured aircraft engines in Germany at the beginning of the 20th century. It was founded by Karl Rapp. You think that's right?
Yep.
R-A-P-P?
I'm sure it's how you say it.
Okay, in 1913. It suffered a whole bunch in the early years of World War I, or in the early years of World War I, until the Prussian army said, hey, yo, we need 600 aero engines, which was a lot. I guess it's probably still a lot. 600 is a ton. So this order saved the company from, I guess, going bankrupt and just total failure. And soon after, Karl Rapp was forced out of the company, and restructuring came through. There were some more words that I'm not going to pronounce. Newly restructured company, Bayerisch Motorenwerk, was the first company to use the moniker BMW.
And do you know that roughly translates to Bavarian Engine Works Company?
Oh, I did not know that, but I did know that the colors used are something to do with Bavaria, right?
So, fun fact. We're doing fun facts already.
Yeah.
There's this folklore that the BMW classic blue and white logo harkens back to... Harkens. I've been wanting to use that word.
That's not even written there.
It's not.
Wow.
Harkens back to the fact that they were involved in airplane manufacturing, and it's a propeller or something like that.
I thought that's something. I thought that it's inspired.
Nope, not at all. So the blue and white is actually the provinces, so the
Bavarian state
the
colors.
Bavarian state colors, and the white and blue kind of alternating round, quarters actually goes back to the motor company that they acquired that was making the vehicles first. Their logo was that that
like the
quad.
checkered four thing.
Yeah.
It's
folklore.
Are you sure?
I read it right on BMW's history website.
Really?
Pure.
Are you just making that up?
Pure folklore.
If any of you work for BMW, please email us and let us know if we're correct on that or not. I thought it was blue and white because of the Bavarian state colors, but I thought there was still some callback, harkened back to...
Nope. It does not harken back to anything.
Okay. Wow. Well, thank you, Luke.
I feel like I'm going to bring the word harken back into
style.
Yeah.
Number 2, Gustav Otto. That's a big name in the autos, right?
Yeah.
A Bavarian aviator founded the Gustav Otto, oh goodness, Flugmaschinenfabrik in 1913 near Munich.
This is so much fun.
It's so good. So, because of unnamed issues in the quality of their products, the company was not ordered to provide armaments to the Prussian military during World War One. They made crappy stuff.
They were like, your stuff's not that good.
Yeah. Like, we're going to be flying. We don't need you to be involved with this. Suffered financially before it was purchased, and it closed in 1918. After the closure, it became a newly structured Bayerisch Motor and Work to complete the transformation into BMW.
Nailed it.
Thank you. And then the last one that I saw was Farsenfabrik Eisenach. Good? Yeah? Okay. And it was founded as a stock company in 1896. The company initially made bicycles, but after 2 years in the business, it wasn't lucrative, I guess, they began to produce Wartburg, a motor car. So this must be the company that you were talking about, huh? This was the third automobile manufacturer to be founded in Germany. You might have heard of the others, the first two being Daimler, and the second being Benz and CIE, however you would say that. So Benz and Daimler. The company was acquired by BMW in November of 1928, and this acquisition contributed to BMW's shift from airplane engines, which it focused on a whole lot, and still did at that time, to creating civilian automobiles. Woo!
That was a mouthful.
It was, yeah. Fun fact for you, BMW's first product was the straight-six aircraft engine called the BMW III-A.
It's a lot of I's.
A lot of I's. Maybe it's like the 3A, but they had it in I form.
So I didn't know that BMW's motorcycling history went back as far as it does. I just assumed because
that's why we do this, Luke.
Yeah, we do. Like I knew they do motorcycles now, but actually in 1923, BMW released their first BMW motorcycle. It was the R32, and it was completely designed and engineered by BMW. It had a Boxer engine, so if you know how Boxer engines work, they're actually kind of like Subaru engines are nowadays.
Like the guys that punch?
No, so V engines go like this. The Boxer engines are horizontally opposed, so they're really well balanced engines. Nothing to do with punching. So yeah, it was one of their first motorcycles was the R32.
And the reason that they were doing that and they were making motorcycle engines was because the World War I ended, and then all of a sudden you don't need all of those airplane engines anymore because war. So motorcycle engines, farm equipment, railway brakes, and even household items were things that
they made
BMW...
pans.
Yeah, they made pans. BMW
How
made
cool
pans.
would that be?
I would love to have a BMW pan, unless it's like really
So fun
crappy.
fact about that that Boxer engine, they still use that engine today. Or that style of engine.
Oh,
so
really?
If you've ever seen a BMW motorcycle, their engine is exceptionally, like, it looks weird wide, and that's because they're using the horizontal Boxer engine.
I feel like they're very rare in the U.S. Is that an accurate statement? I don't know much about motorcycles.
Yeah.
I just know, like, driving down the road, I don't notice a BMW bike so much.
You
as
see them,
a Harley
but not
a
not
sports
nearly
bike.
as much. It's probably a pretty. I would guess it's probably less than 10% of motorcycles.
Are you a motorcycle guy?
I like them, but I'm not allowed to
You're not
have one.
Yeah, well, that's smart. Okay, so there were some changing hands of BMW in 1920, and this is when the production facility moved to Munich, and the main one, and it's still located there today, as well as their headquarters. But I had a fun fact for you about the R32 that you were talking about. One of those sold for $139,000 back in 2011.
Wow.
That was the most recent, like, believable sale that I saw for one of those bikes. Now, before we go on, tons more history to cover.
It's all the histories.
It's all the histories. You're right. Let's take a break for a word from our sponsor.
BMW, you know what? Just send a couple of 3 or 5 Series.
Can I get the SUV? What's that? The X?
I'm not
something?
sure. The X5 or something
X3.
like that.
Yeah.
I like the 3. I like the small and sporty. So BMW, I'll send you our addresses.
Yeah, you're welcome
You're welcome.
for this.
This is going to increase your sales for sure.
Okay, so they're not sponsoring us, but I do have some shout outs, which I appreciate just as much, if not more.
I do.
Cedric D Entertainer. Cedric D is getting his electrical engineering degree.
Oh.
You know, come on, it's still in the family.
Yeah.
And that's not the grown-worthy part, actually, which is funny.
There's a grown-worthy?
Yes, and I wrote back to him. He's actually looking forward to the challenges of his math classes, like differential equations.
Oh.
So clearly, you know, something's wrong with this person. Going for electrical engineering and likes those challenges. Cedric, you're not beaten down by life enough yet. Take the easy classes when you can. No, but thank you for writing in. I do appreciate that. And the other one, Jason B. So Jason B is a mechanical engineering senior at Brigham Young of Idaho.
Go Mud Dogs.
Apparently, Brigham Young University of Ohio is different than the one in Utah.
Okay.
So that's a thing. So how cool is this, though? He has a part-time job. Remember, he's in Idaho.
Okay.
At a potato planting and harvesting equipment place. Right? He even wrote, he's like, I know.
That's awesome.
Yeah, oh, Idaho. So also, he had a correction for our batteries episode about batteries in tractors.
Okay.
Apparently, we were throwing some nonsense around, and I just can assume it was you.
Yes, of
farmers have to use up to 315 horsepower, 16 hours a day, 6 days a week. And if they were to put one of these huge batteries in there, the charge time would, he said, as Luke would say, would be bananas.
Bananas.
Yes. He also thinks an episode on the FE, or the Fundamentals of Engineering, or even the PE exam would be cool, or how you get certified as an engineer. Neither of us are certified engineers, so that would be a good thing for us to look into.
It would be. Very good.
Yeah, so Jason B., thank you for writing in, especially with the good potato information.
I love potatoes.
Me too. What's your favorite kind of French fry?
Skinny. Oh, fast food has got to be Arby's curly fry.
Okay. See, does curly fry count?
It does count. You have to.
That's
count
my
it.
favorite.
You have to. Curly fry.
That's my number one.
by far.
Otherwise, I probably do a waffle fry because I can scoop up a lot of ketchup.
Chick-fil-A waffle fry is
yeah.
about as good as it gets.
But curly fries are so good.
I'm going to get some this afternoon, I think.
Oh, you should. Okay, so if any of you want to write in and tell us your favorite French fry option, do so at unprofessionalengineering@gmail.com. We can also send you stickers. You can give us recommendations. You can tell us what we get wrong all the time. It's all good. But also, why don't you go to the iTunes or wherever you listen and subscribe, like,
share,
leave us
review.
a review. We're going to get so many reviews soon and be rich. So thank you
Yes.
all for your reviews, unless they're negative.
Then we don't like you.
Then we don't like you, yes. All right. Let's see here. Where were we, Luke?
We were right about
1923?
1920-ish.
Okay. BMW became an automobile manufacturer in 1928.
Finally.
They purchased that company built by Austin Sevens under license under the Dixie marquee. So apparently the Dixie was the car, right?
Yeah, the
So
very first car was...
They bought up this company, and they rebranded the Dixie to be a BMW 315 or something like that.
It was called the Dixie 315 PS was the car that they rebranded. So it actually wasn't a BMW. They basically, from what I understood,
their sticker on it.
They put their badge on it,
Yeah.
and that was it.
Yeah, well, that happens. So what do you see next?
So let's jump up to...
I have 1930s-ish as my next thing of interest.
Okay.
You want me
So like 1934,
Sure.
they actually finally became totally independent, making engine aircraft. So I think it was about 1933. The German government actually asked them to do this. So they actually had an entire, plant and became a whole separate organization inside of BMW. It wasn't like they kind of forced them to do it before.
Did you see how that went down, though? And it's probably in your notes there along the way. But so in the 30s, there was some sort of like funny business where they became a company, but the airplane engine started being outsourced to some other company.
Mm-hmm.
But that company was sort of like a shell company for them. So that there could be some funny business with the government. And during this time, And moving into the early 40s, like 1941, the government had actually secretly been subsidizing the construction of a giant BMW plant in Munich or close to Munich, which was focused on the expanded industrial production of aircraft engines.
They called it the Shadow Plant.
Is that what they called it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a cool name. So why?
I'm sure
Because of war,
if you pronounce it in German, I'm sure it's not as
It probably sounds cooler. I assume if a German person is actually doing it. So I thought that was kind of shady. Like, okay, and now all of a sudden, we have this giant factory. Go ahead, continue on. I'm sorry.
So I'm going to jump up to 1941.
I love it. That's where I left off.
So 1941, during the Second World War, the German BMW company, they were tasked with creating armaments and material manufacturers for the government, and they had to literally shut down everything they did to just build aircrafts for the German Air Force.
No more motorcycles, none of that stuff.
No
it was just
more
all aero
nothing.
engines. Over 30,000 airplane engines were manufactured through 1945, as well as over 500 jet engines, such as the BMW 3003.
You have to imagine that, like, they had to be pretty good engines, right? German engineering, right? Isn't that the story? Isn't that the phrase?
That's what I'm told.
Okay.
Yeah, I would have to assume that they were pretty good engines. And, just think about if you go back to one of our old episodes, I think we called it something like Crazy World War II Technology or something like that. Basically, everything we talked about there was German engineering. A lot of it was. And a lot of that sort of technology is then what really inspired the next wave of technology throughout the world. Like the U.S. used the technology they learned from the World War II from the Germans for like space travel and things like that. It's crazy. But
So
one of the bad things I wanted to talk about, is that okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, so in the same time frame when they were pumping out these 30,000 engines
This is
and
like
all these other
1940s.
things, 1945-ish, 1940s, yeah. They needed a whole lot of people to do this work, right? And to enable the massive amount of production needed, they actually were leveraging prisoners from concentration camps. And by the end of the war, almost 50% of the 50,000-person workforce at BMW consisted of prisoners from concentration camps. So, maybe a dark time in the history of BMW.
I think all companies, I'm going to give them, I'm not going to say I'm going to give them a pass because it's terrible, but I think all companies, we talked about the Ford, Henry Ford and his kind of, he's having
that episode.
He's having some issues. I don't want to get into that now, but I think all companies, it's like the sins of the father come back to.
Yeah.
I mean?
I mean, can you hold it against them at this point? I mean, what is it? 80 years later.
A long time.
But yeah. Terrible time in their history. Yep. BMW's factories were super heavily bombed during the war, and the remaining West German facilities were banned from producing motor vehicles or aircrafts after the war. Mm-hmm. I thought this was really interesting, and it clearly shows like how ignorant I am about how all of that stuff goes down. But basically, the Allied forces, and I think the U.S. in particular, kind of like came in and was like, oh yeah, you're done doing everything. Not only are you done doing everything, BMW was classified as an armaments company, and so the machines and the tools were all dismantled, like stripped down. I assume they were probably shipped over to the U.S. I don't know, but I assume that. So that's pretty serious. In fact, in October of 45, the U.S. military ordered the BMW plants in Munich and Allach to be dismantled altogether as well.
And from 45 on, the end of the war, apparently to maintain, we talked about this already, but that's when they started getting into making household appliances.
Pots and pans and bicycles.
Yep.
I bet a BMW pot
Price
sells for so much.
It's got to be still working,
It's
right?
probably is costs as much as like my car because there can't be that many of them, right?
The first vehicle that BMW made post-war was the 501. This was right about 1951, and it was the first one. I think they made this up until how many models did they make?
Oh, I did see that. I saw it didn't sell real well.
No,
but
no.
they kept making it for a long time.
Yeah,
it was
they
like
did.
their go-to.
Yeah, and it was considered a luxury car. And if you think about like what just happened in the war,
Yeah.
it had to not be a great seller.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I thought so. One more thing, but I know we have to take another break. But did you see that in the 50s things weren't going super well for them, and their friends at Daimler-Benz
Wanted to buy 'em.
submitted, a restructuring kind of offer in 1959. Like, hey, how about we just scoop you on up? And all the small shareholders out there in the workforce said, you can take your deal and shove it, and we're going to remain our own company. And then the government provided some temporary financial assistance, which sounds like a bailout to me, and they managed to recover a little bit. So that was cool. Now, I know there's lots of years left to go, and
Tons.
not that much time, but I want to take a break for this week's Luke's Rant.
Okay, so this rant is how expensive BMWs are.
I
And-
mean, maybe to you, but
Well,
I got podcast money.
Yeah, and the problem was I just a few minutes ago I went to go to their website, and I actually couldn't find how to. And you would think a company as big as BMW. So BMW, if you're listening,
Which you are, I'm sure.
I'm sure you're listening. Your website is so difficult to navigate. The BMWUSA.com website. Maybe your other websites are marvelous, but it wasn't an easy website to go and navigate. There was too much information, finding general pricing, like to build and price, and it was not a great website. But in that, I'm gonna go back to my original. The prices. Their cheapest vehicle. $35,300. It's like the X1 or something like that. It's
the axle's actually made out of a tree branch.
it is made out of a tree branch, but it has a BMW badge on it, so it's a BMW. So that's their least expensive, and that's the base price. Their most expensive
that you saw on the website.
that I saw that I could try to find
Right.
after 10 minutes of looking. Their most expensive is their electric sports car,
Oh.
$163,000, and that's the base price. I'm sure if you throw
get
in
the nice
leather
trim,
and the lighter and all that sort of
The
stuff.
lighter. They still do lighters in cars?
I don't think so. I don't know. Yeah, so BMW, work on your website a little bit. I would have bought today.
Luke was in the market. I remember coming
Past
to
tense.
his house today and him being like, so I'm going to buy a BMW. And I was like, that's neat.
Couldn't find it
Couldn't
on the
find
website.
the one. Yep.
So
What's your favorite BMW?
I like the 3 Series, and I like the M version of the 3. So the M, which we'll talk about a little bit later, is their sporting variety.
Oh, okay.
But it's just so sporty. It's fast. It's fun. You feel like you're driving around a little tank. I love the 3 Series.
I gotcha.
What about you?
I like their SUVs. I think
would.
they're like the X3, 4, 5,
I
something
think
like that.
X is
that-
you put an
yeah.
X in front of it, and all of a
And now
sudden
it's an SUV.
Yeah.
Those I like those. I would tell the wife that would be okay once Oscar goes, but we'll see.
Okay.
Again, anyone who wants to purchase off Oscar, I know we made this offer back in the Christmas episode. Feel free to reach out.
Yep.
It's a great deal. Let's Yep. Let's see here. 1969 is my next thing. How about that?
That works for me.
All right. Demand continued after they kicked Daimler-Benz to the curb and said, no. In 1969, production of the BMW motorcycles in Berlin started kicking off. In 71, BMW Credit, with a K, was set up. And I mention this because this is really considered to be like a backbone of BMW. In my notes, I even say credit with a K because, Germans.
Of course.
So it was set up to provide finance for the company's transactions as well as dealerships. And so that's what kind of made this special. So it laid the groundwork for their financing and leasing business, and it's still a crucial element to the company's success today. So it helps with all of those BMW dealerships. In 72, they opened up a plant in South Africa as well. Pretoria.
The very first production location outside of Germany.
Oh, is that right?
Yep. That's why
That's why it's so big.
Yeah, that's
'cause
why
they
that was an
expanded.
interesting fact.
That's very interesting. All right, what else do you have?
So 1972, they founded their BMW Motorsport Group. So basically
that's interesting.
motorsports were like basically you would take these cars, you'd race them, and that's kind of how you got the notoriety, and that's how you proved your vehicles were better than the Mercedes and all the other ones. So they basically, in 1972, they consolidated all that to BMW Motorsport, and this is where their M variety comes from. So anytime you see an M on a BMW, that means it's probably got like a tuned suspension, it's probably turbocharged, it's got some other kind of crazy.
It's all stuff I probably don't need.
It's all stuff because
Okay.
you're a terrible driver.
That's accurate.
So they did this, and this was basically the birth of the BMW sporting category. And to this day, they still have quite a bit of dominance in like rally and road racing and all the different motorsports.
Interesting.
Not NASCAR though. You don't see a BMW in NASCAR. I remember when Toyota joined NASCAR for the first time.
No, I know nothing about NASCAR.
So NASCAR's always been
That's
like
the one you go in a circle, right?
Yeah, it is for a really long time. So NASCAR's basically.
Do they wear diapers?
I don't know.
And I'm serious. It's a long time.
They probably just pee their pants, is my guess.
I feel like.
But yeah, so NASCAR is always Ford, Chevy, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I remember when Toyota joined NASCAR for the first time, maybe 10 years ago, whatever it was. But there still is no like German vehicle. You don't see a Mercedes or BMW in NASCAR.
Maybe their cars can't drive in a circle.
Or maybe if they did, they'd win. And all
Get on it, BMW.
Yeah.
We'll put an unprofessional engineering sticker on your car.
So I jump way up to 1994. You got
So let me
else?
throw a couple things out there. So in 1973, May 18th to be exact, the four-cylinder building, which is their headquarters, opened up that day. And I think we all probably know that building. Like if you're an engineer, you probably know that building. It's super unique looking. 1989, BMW decided to open up a place in the U.S. in Spartanburg, South Carolina. I've actually been there before. This was the home to the Z3. Do you remember the little Z3 convertible?
Yeah, it was the worst.
I think it's a Z4 now, but it's like kind of wider.
Like
That's gone now, but the factory is now home to the X3, 4, 5, and 6. So that's where I should go shopping.
That's where your BMW comes from.
Okay, and so then 94, I guess I know where you're going with this one, which I did not know.
Yeah, so back in 1994, they also acquired Range Rover.
Right? The Rover Group.
Yeah, and with the Rover Group, they got a couple other bits and pieces. They got the MG, Triumph, and the Mini brand.
I don't know what MG is. I've heard of Triumph and, of course, Mini.
I think MG, it's a small sports car.
It was like GM, but not quite the same.
Yeah, something like that. But probably the biggest thing they got out of that was the Mini brand is the only one that is still today a part of BMW. All the other ones got bought and sold, and because I think Land Rover actually might be Ford. I think now.
I actually looked it up, but I forget. I verified that it no longer was BMW, but I didn't make note of who does it.
Do you like Minis?
But, no.
No, I like them.
That's fine.
They're
you can
fun.
like them. I don't hold that against you. So Land Rover, who does it get? Well, I think the Land Rover and Jag are all sold
Jaguar.
together. But I think BMW I'm thinking of in like where I live.
Oh.
There's a dealership nearby that's been
I think
under
Ford
construction
owns
forever.
Jaguar and
Does it?
Land Rover now. I'm pretty
Okay.
sure it's Ford.
I know there's another one you want to mention there, so go for
1989, they bought Rolls-Royce.
Because why not?
Yeah, I mean,
Rolls-Royce.
why not? So 1989, they bought Rolls-Royce, and I watched this video. Me and my videos about like the leather factories and the woodworking factories for Rolls-Royce, like currently how they work today. It is like you wonder why a Rolls-Royce is like $195,000, $250,000. Like literally, these people were hand making the dashboards and the wood grain on the dashboard. Like literally, everything is 100% bespoke, handmade. It's amazing to me.
When I was in Montreal a little bit ago, I saw a Rolls-Royce going down the road. Keep in mind, it was like minus 30 out. The road has got probably 6 inches of snow on it. I'm like, what are you doing?
Yep.
But I guess if you have the money to buy one, you don't have to be concerned about that sort of
1999 was a really important date.
Oh, let's hear it.
Because on the 10th of January 1999, BMW unveiled the BMW X5 at the Detroit Auto Show, and this was the birth of the Sport activity vehicle, as they called
What's a
it.
sport activity
It's
vehicle?
an what we call an SUV.
Oh.
So basically, this is their SUV, and it was basically sporty driving with all-wheel drive and
Do you
then all
think
the
it was just
accoutrements.
mistranslated at one point? We were like, oh, that's sports activity vehicle. And
Maybe.
I bet it was, and they just stuck with it. No one wanted to own up. Okay, go ahead. More?
And then I jump all the way to 2013 after that. I got
I
nothing
only
in
have
between.
fun facts left. I kind of petered out here at the end.
Okay, so then I'll do 2013. So the BMW i3. So this is the era of electric, and everybody knows
is.
about Tesla, and everybody knows about the Tesla truck and all that
Did
sort
you
of stuff.
see? I'm going to interrupt real
Shoot.
quick. If Tesla remains like at where it's at, its money levels, Elon stands to become the richest man in the world
Yeah.
because of like some sort of stock options coming his way.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Bananas.
Yeah.
Elon, send
I
us a
think
car.
it's the second most valuable car company now.
Yeah, it's got to be.
Wow. Okay, go ahead.
So basically, this is the i3, and it's a really ugly car, unfortunately. Like, if they would have just made, like,
hate
a
that.
regular 3 or a 5, like, why are all electric
Yeah,
vehicles?
they did that. Like so many companies
Like,
have done that.
Tesla's done a really good job
Yes.
making a good-looking electric vehicle,
Yes.
but, like, the Chevy Volt and
Oh,
this
God.
BMW i3.
What was it the Leaf?
Oh, they're
Yeah.
terrible. The plug was on the hood. It's like, are you kidding me? So, regardless, so this was basically in 2013 whenever they started their i brand, and this was their all-electric vehicles. Now they have a number of vehicles in their lineup that are all electric.
Interesting. A few fun facts for you.
Shoot.
Number 1, according to Forbes, BMW is number 11 on the Forbes World's Most Valuable Brands, having made
Interesting.
just $6.59 billion profit last year.
Fun fact, 30 production facilities, 14 countries on 4 different continents.
Wow, that's pretty impressive. Fun fact for you, kind of bizarre, that the Treaty of Versailles is what was responsible for BMW
Yep, I heard that.
manufacturing cars. That's when we shut everything down, it caused them to diversify.
Did you know, fun fact, that BMW had a little 2-door car known as the Estetta, a.k.a. the bubble car. It had a single wheel in the back. At least the original one did. I think they went to 2 wheels in the back. It was basically a trike, a reverse trike, and it looked like a clown car.
A clown car?
Yeah, it was super small, like
How did they
crazy,
fit
crazy
so many
small.
clowns into clown cars? That's what I wanted.
And my last fun fact is a car enthusiast coined the BMW popular term, the ultimate driving machine. It was John Platt. He was an employee at BMW North America, and supposedly he said this about driving the 3 Series, and that's where this ultimate driving machine came from.
How about that?
Genius marketing. They didn't even have to pay for it.
Wow, I love it. Love free. Free
So
like our
BMW, I'll expect. I'll give you a couple weeks, maybe. Send a car.
Yeah, I mean,
Any 3 Series would be great.
that's fine. I'll take that too if you want to keep it simple. Hopefully you all enjoyed learning about the history of BMW and all the cool things that they did, like making pots and pans. If you want to reach out with any more information or make your own requests, email us at unprofessionalengineering@gmail.com. Until next time.
See ya.